Hey everyone, next we are looking at object data types. So this is like one more non-primitive data types. It's like arrays. We have something called as objects. So this is another data type. So an object is basically a key value pair. So it is a collection of values. Now let's see how to define an object. We are seeing how to represent an object. I am creating a new file inside my datatypes folder and I am naming it as object.js. Is collection of values. So I'm creating a new file here and I have named it as object.js. So while we are working with arrays, an array is represented by using opening and closing square brackets, right? But an object is represented using opening and closing flower brackets. So this is how an object looks. So let's say I am creating a variable called as person, where person, and assigning an empty object to it as a value. So I'm creating a variable called as person and the value is an empty object. So this is a valid object representation. It should look something like this: opening and closing flower brackets. Okay, usually object contains key value pairs. Okay, key value pairs. I will say what it is exactly. The way we define it is we are creating a key called as. So here, how to explain that key value pairs. So here the key is, let's say I'm creating a value called as first name inside person. So and this is the key. First name is key and its value is, let's say I'm giving my first name. So this is key and this is a value. So it is a pair, right? So that's what key value pairs is. So inside objects, data is represented using key value pairs. Okay, and next time I want to give my like company as well. So name of my company, and if I have to give one more key value pair, I'm using comma here to separate them. So the key is company and the value is Salesforce. So this is how we are giving key value pairs inside an object. This is a valid object representation, and I'm giving one more. I'm giving comma here because I'm adding one more key value pair, and here the key is city and the value is Hyderabad. So now I have three key value pairs inside my person object. So these three key value pairs are part of this particular person object, and that is exactly the syntax of object. So it has opening and closing flower brackets. It has key value pairs separated by commas. Each key value pair is separated by a comma, and the last key value pair does not have any commas in it. You have to observe this. And now let's see the definition of an object. So an object is basically unordered. Object is unordered, string indexed. We said array as integer indexed, right? But objects are string indexed. Collection of values. Collection of values is same. I'm just cutting it here and pasting it here. Collection of values is same, but it is unordered, whereas arrays are ordered, and arrays are integer indexed but objects are string indexed. So these two differences makes a lot of change between an array and an object. Okay, and both are collection of values, there is no doubt in it. And this is how an object looks like. And what I mean by that, so what I mean by it's let's say I'm saying unordered or string index. So what do I mean by that? So if I want to access the value Abhinay, I will be accessing it via the key called first name. So here the first name is the key for which the value is Abhinay. So that's what it means, a key value pair. So here the first name is the key for which the value is Abhinay. So that's what it means. It's a key value pair. So I will do a console.log of person. I will say person, I'm just executing this piece of file. Node I'm not inside cd data types, node object.js. So it is printing me the entire object, which is person. So it has first name, company, city. So there are 3 key value pairs inside that particular object. So if I want to access, like if you remember, while you're working with arrays, to access each and every element in the array via its index, we used to access it via its index, and the indexing in arrays starts at 0 index, right? But in objects it is string indexed, it is not integer indexed. And in order to access each and every key value pairs inside an object, we have something called as we do something like this. So we give person the name, we are referring to this particular object, and we are having opening and closing square brackets. And to access each and every value of keys, we have to give person of first name. So this is how we have to represent. So to access each and every element in the array via its index, we use opening and closing square brackets and put integer, because arrays are integer indexed. While while you are working with objects, since objects are string indexed, here I am passing this string as index here. So here it is string, it's not direct. So this is how you have to access this value. If I want to print Abhinay, you have to do something like this. You have to do console.log of person, you are referring to this object, and then you are using string indexed. That is the meaning of string indexed. So you are giving this key name here as a string. So that's how you can access that particular value. So if you can see, my name is printed here. So that is how we do access the values. So let's see, I want the company name, person, opening and closing square brackets, and it's a string, and I'm giving company. That's it. I'm just saving and executing this piece of code. So it is printing both Abhinay and Salesforce. So while you are working with objects, you can access each key via opening and closing square brackets. So you can access each key via opening and closing square brackets, and since they are string indexed, you have to give quotations of that particular key names here. So that is option number 1. There is one more option. So the other option is we can use something called as dot operator or dot operator, both the same. So what is dot operator is, so I can access the key value pairs using dot operator as well. So let's see how to do that. Same first name, I am accessing like something like this. So console.log person.first name, I'm saving this piece of file, executing this piece of code. So it is giving me the same output. So I can access each key and its value in objects in 2 ways actually. One is via opening and closing square brackets like this, okay, which is acceptable, no doubt. Or we can also use dot operator. So we use dot operator to access a particular key, and it will return the value. So usually while you are working with JavaScript, we do not call it as key. So we don't call them as key. They are key value pairs, no doubt, but we call them as properties. Okay, we call it something called as properties. All these 3 are properties. So there are 3 properties for person object. Let's say I want to print city, console.log of, how to do that using dot operator dot city. I'm saving, executing this piece of code. It is going to say Hyderabad. So this is the difference between 2 different ways of accessing each and every property value inside objects. And here there is a property called as first name. I said right, all these are called as properties in objects. So here there is a property called as first name whose value is a string. So if you observe, person is an object and first name is the property of that object. So person is the object and first name is a property, company is a property, city is a property of that object. So listen, properties can either be variables that holds the state of the object or function that defines the object that handles. So listen me carefully, properties can either be variables. So all these are variables. So properties can either be variables that holds the state of the object are function. So properties need not to be variables only, it can either be functions as well. So I'll show what it is. So what it means is I can now define one more property called as details. So I'm saying something called as details. For this I'm reviewing my definition again. So properties can either be variables, so these are all variables that holds the state of the object. State is nothing but information of the object. So it can be either variables, or it can be either function as well. So what is meant by a function? I'm just defining a function here, and it can also be the one of the property value. Here we are giving a string as a value, but in this case we are giving the function as a value. Both are valid, and that's what the definition says. So properties can either be variables that holds the state of the object, or function that defines what the object handles. It can be either a variable or a function, both are fine. And here in this function I'm defining something called as, this function, right? This is basically an anonymous function. It do not have any name. Okay, this is a syntax. It looks like a regular function. It has function keyword, opening and closing round brackets, opening and closing flower brackets, and I'm returning something called return. I'm inside function object. So this is how a function value for a property looks like. So here all these are the values of properties is string for first three cases. All these values of all the properties, first name, company and city, are strings. The values are strings. But for the fourth property, the value is a function. So it is an anonymous function. I have first name as property whose value is string. I have city as property whose value is string. I have company as property whose value is string. I have details as property whose value is a function. So you know the difference, right? This is a string and this is a function. This is another data type. So the conclusion is property which holds a function, property can hold a function as well as its value. And the conclusion is this is the property which holds a function as its value is called a method. So this is called a method. So in objects, listen me carefully. In objects we have all the properties, okay, no doubt. It can hold different either variables or functions, okay. It can hold different properties, either variables or functions, and when the properties are holding functions, that particular value is called as method. Okay, that is the definition. Now how do I call details? So I have declared details. How do I call it? So this is going to give console.log person.details. This is going to give reference to that particular function. This function, this is referring to this function. As you have seen previously, to invoke a function we have to pass opening and closing round brackets. Okay, I will save this file. I will go back to my terminal and I'm executing this piece of code. It is going ahead and telling us that it is a function. I am inside function object. If you do not use this, or if you do not invoke this, what happens? So it is showing me as it is just a plain function, but it is not returning anything. It is not getting invoked, or it is not getting called. So definitely we have to give this invocation, or we have to call that particular function to display what is being returned inside the function. And one thing you should not miss is inside functions, return keyword is mandatory. Okay. Now let's say I don't want to display a string which says I am function inside object. So rather I want to return a string which says, I don't want this thing, and I just want to print something like I want to use all these property values, and I want to return a string something like my name is Abhinay, I work for Salesforce, and I live in Hyderabad. So what I need to do here, I should do something called as string concatenation. So what I say is, forget all this. So I'm just giving my name is, I'm just printing something. Okay, since it is a string, I'm placing inside single quotations. So my name is, so I'm doing something called as string concatenation. So I'm saying this, I have to access this value of first name, right? My name is Abhinay, right? So here first name, I cannot directly type first name here. that doesn't work. I cannot type directly first name here. I need to refer to this particular object called as person. So I will refer this person object using the keyword this. Okay, this dot first name. So here this is nothing but this particular person object, and then the person object that you see here is basically the value of this. So here the person object is the value of this. Person is equal to this person. Okay, so this dot first name, since we are inside that particular object, we are using this. If we are outside that particular object, we use directly person dot first name. Okay, you see the difference. This keyword is very important. So here this is nothing but the particular person object. I'm calling one of the properties called as first name here, person dot first name, and next I'm doing again string concatenation. I work for plus this dot company plus I live in this dot city. So this is how we have to, if I need to, I'm expecting a desired output like something like this, I have to do string concatenation by utilizing all these properties and their values using this keyword in JavaScript. Okay, so return my name is plus this dot first name, and I work for this dot company plus I live in plus this dot city. So I'm accessing all these properties and their values using this keyword, since we are inside this person object. Where are we returning this? We are returning this inside this particular person object, right? So we are referring to that particular this keyword. So generally when you are working with objects in JavaScript, objects has properties and values. So now properties can hold values of a string type, it can hold values of number type, it can hold values of an array, a boolean. So the property values can either be string, can either be a number. I will show how a number looks like. So let's say I'm saying my age as 25. Okay, my name is here I'm just adding my age as well, just to show that we can add different data types here. This dot age. I'm just saving this piece of code. So the conclusion is, now properties can hold values of string type, it can hold values of number type, it can hold a function, it can hold an array, it can hold a boolean, anything like that, and you can even hold an object as a value. So all data types are accepted, and in this case we can also assign a property value as a function. So whenever a property holds a function as its value, it is called as method. So entire this details is called as method. Okay, that is the conclusion. So here details, technically it is a property which is holding a function, but it is a method for that particular function. It is a property, no doubt, and it is a function, no doubt, but whenever it is assigned inside an object, it is called as a method. I will see you in the next class. Thank you.